Hi guys. If you saw my attempt at live streaming, I'm sorry. I should have known from how the internet was acting in the very beginning that it wasn't going to work. And yeah. So maybe, hopefully, next week maybe we can try again. No promises. My internet just does not like to cooperate. So I thought I would just do a video on here instead. I'm not even gonna like throw the intro in or anything. I just kind of want to talk about it. So the gist of what I want to talk about is, one, kind of the definition almost of Turner's and like what it biologically actually means, and on top of that, the difference between Mosaic versus Classic, and kind of a new understanding, a new learning that I have gained about it, for it, of it, and how I came to that. So first, the definition of Turner syndrome to me was always the second X missing, but I had always thought it was, as you're going through the conception process, there's this little hiccup, and after that point, every cell made after that point is damaged in one of those two ways, whether Classic or Mosaic, where I thought Classic was the whole second X is missing versus Mosaic was, in my mind, just the second X damaged. So it was bits and pieces like bitten off of it, but there was still some of it there. It wasn't completely deleted. So that's what I thought. That was my initial understanding. And I've a couple times had people kind of challenge that and share that they were thinking Classic and Mosaic meant Classic was all cells affected, all of your cells affected, versus Mosaic is not all cells affected. Hence why Mosaic would be less severe in most cases. So the part that I always struggled with that was, I had never heard that Classic meant every cell affected. And I had always kind of thought, if every cell was affected, how would you survive? That just seemed really hard for me. And so that's where I kind of took it to. It can't be all cells because you wouldn't survive. And that probably means that those that miscarry or that don't make it, they probably are more that case. They are the ones that it started earlier, so more of their cells were affected. Those, like, that's what made sense to me. Because you're looking at, like, my case is super light, right? Like, I don't have a ton of health complications. In general, you can't really look at me and tell very much. So I never had an issue thinking that, because I was thinking light case next to severe case next to Mosaic severe case. Like, I have had a lighter case than somebody that's technically Mosaic, where they're more affected than I am. They're more impacted with it than I am. And I've seen other girls have the same scenario where they're Classic, but they really don't even look like they have anything. Like, they don't fit all of that. But they're Classic, so whole cell deleted, right? So that's what made sense to me. And every time that got challenged, I always came back to, but if that's the case, I still don't understand how there's so much variety, how everybody's so different, and how Mosaic can be less or more impacted than somebody with Classic. How it can be that wide of range, where you can have severe Classic and then light Classic, and light Classic can be more light than severe Mosaic. And it's just, there was too much variety, too wide of a range of how much people were affected for me to really think that classic meant every single cell was damaged and every single cell was missing a chromosome. It didn't make sense to me. So I recently, a couple days ago, got another comment like that. And I really thought when I got that, like, okay, I've got to figure this out. Like, I got to try to reconcile this and get a clearer answer on this. And so I went to the Facebook group I'm in and I asked them their perspective. I said, this is what I had always thought. This keeps coming up, but I'm not sure how to figure that out. I'm not sure what that means for everything I just listed. And I had a bunch of them say, yeah, classic is all cells. Mosaic is not. That's the hint behind Mosaic. And I'm like, okay, so then how do you get to all of this, right? And of course, there's the answer of there is no answer, right? Like, there's some element of we don't know all of it. We don't know every little detail. So there's going to be anomalies. There's going to be things we can't explain. That's kind of just the nature of most of my experiences with Turner's has been. There's not much explanation. It's just kind of we take what gets thrown at us from it. And I totally understand that because it is so volatile. It is so unique in every way it shows up and every place it shows up. And everybody's going to have something different, right? Like, everybody's going to have something different. And it's such a wide variety. And I want to celebrate that, right? Like, that's not a bad thing. But I ended up I got a couple of different things to look at, and I kind of did some of my own research to try to dig deeper. The first thing I came across was, like, I kind of just Googled what the difference is. I know, I broke my own rule again. Dr. Google. But I wanted to see what popped up. So I did that. I Googled what's the difference between classic and mosaic Turner syndrome. And a couple things popped up, but specifically, it was either a medical journal that I saw this in first or like Mayo Clinic that described classic just as the second sex chromosome missing, so the second X deleted. And then mosaic was described as only some cells. So while under classic they don't say every cell, the fact that the defining difference with mosaic in that was some cells affected in this. Now I will say it did say some cells affect either partially or completely deleted. So it did say the cells can either be like the chromosome is completely gone, the second X is completely deleted, or it's damaged. Both of those were possibilities it brought up, and in some cells, so not all cells. So that kind of settled, like, okay, it doesn't come right out and say it, but that makes that kind of says it, right? Like, under mosaic, it says only some, versus under classic, it doesn't define how many cells, so it's got to be all of them, right? And then I got a comment with a link to a video from the conference talking about this that I think I had seen it pop up and I just hadn't gotten a chance to watch it. And I had totally forgotten about it and hadn't actually, like, I didn't do anything to remind myself to go back and watch it after I saw it and like, oh, I want to watch that. So I took that opportunity and I watched all of it. It's on mosaicism. So it's basically helping define mosaicism, because classic, while there is a wide spectrum of variety in like how it implements itself, how it manifests, there's not much variety in how you define it. The whole second X is deleted. And because of that, all of these things can happen. With mosaicism, genetically, there are differences in how you're affected in each case. there's biologically gene differences between cases of Mosaic where they don't so much really think of that with classic, from my understanding. So I watched this, all about Mosaicism. One, it was really nice to be able to understand it better. Two, it kind of touches on what I was trying to figure out. So she goes through the whole thing, and she touches a little on classic in the beginning. I can't remember the doctor's name, but she's really good at explaining this because she did amazing. So in the beginning, she touches on classic and kind of says whole X deleted, and then kind of touches on Mosaicism, and then goes into breaking down like all the different variations and karyotypes for Mosaicism, like 45X, 46X, X, 46XXX, triple X, so many different variations, and then there's the 46XY. Yeah, there's just too many variations to list everything possible, but she started going through all of those and kind of briefly explaining them. And she kind of started touching on towards like the end of the middle of it, or the end of the video in general, like the end of the presentation, she kind of touched on, we use certain verbiage because there's only so much of this we can predict, right? Like there's only so much that we can say for sure from our understanding, because there's a lot happening. Like there's a lot that goes on. There's a lot of things that, for every rule with Turners, there's an exception. So they use language that leaves that very open. Like this is the typical, this is in most cases, or this is what's common, or whatever. Like whatever that kind of looks like for what they're talking about. They don't say every case looks like this, which I think I really appreciated, because that's very true. I talk about that all the time. There is way too many variables, way too much variety, way too many variances that have occurred to even attempt to predict any of it. And then she quoted another doctor, a colleague, that said he believes everybody that is living with Turner syndrome has some of their cells as Mosaic instead of classic. Like as not every cell, like every cell may be affected, but not every cell is completely missing that second X. Because otherwise, how would they survive? So that like blew my mind, because the whole idea of trying to put a stamp on this is what it is kind of got thrown out the door. Like there's that perspective that I think I just found my new perspective. Like I think that's amazing. And while it lets you appreciate the variety and uniqueness and inability to predict what's going on with it, it gives that balance where you're saying, yes, this is what it is. It's classic, right? Every cell affected, but Mosaic is not every cell affected. But maybe everybody that is actually living has a little bit of mosaicism in their cells where not every cell is deleted. Maybe most of them are, and there's a certain number that look more like the 46X or 46XX, because otherwise that wouldn't be viable, right? Like, how could they survive? And one interesting fact I learned from that is different cell tissues can test differently in a karyotype. So skin cells may test 45x, blood may test 46xx. And then other cells may test totally different. So while they test blood, that doesn't mean other cells that would still be affected wouldn't test differently. And that completely blew my mind and made me want more testing. So that is the new conclusions that I have come to with getting pushed into doing some more research, and I'm really thankful that I did. This, I think, really helped me. I was very excited to learn all of this. And I will link that video down below from the conference if you guys want to watch it. It totally blew my mind. Totally blew my mind. And I was very grateful that I had gone on that journey, and I'm still kind of figuring some of it out because there's still so many questions and there's still so much to wrap my head around. So that's what I wanted the live to be about tonight. That's what I wanted to talk to you guys about and kind of see your perspective and share that, share the video. It's amazing. And yeah, so that's my little spiel. I know this was super long, but I wanted to do it justice. So this is how I'm thinking right now. This is what I'm processing right now. And this has given me a new perspective on some things. So yeah, with that, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. And I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it helped you. Let me know what your thoughts are on all of this, and let me know if you watched that video what you thought, because I feel like I could watch it a million times over and learn something new and have my mind blown all over again. So, okay, I will let you guys go. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this and it helped you and you learned, give it a thumbs up and share it with others. Make sure you're subscribed and have notifications on, and I will see you guys tomorrow.